Hello there. Good to be with you today. So, in the course of John's adventures in heaven, he would encounter a group of warrior angels called the Host of Heaven, or the Heavenly Host. This is heaven's army. So, before evil began, I'm sure they were doing militant training under their captain, who is the Archangel Michael, a chief angel prince of heaven. We read in Daniel 12, 1 to 3, about a future war that's going to take place in heaven, and he will be the one leading heaven's charge against the forces of evil. And also in Revelation, there is reference to a great war that takes place at the halfway point of the Great Tribulation, where Satan, the great dragon, leads a full on assault against heaven once and for all to conquer it. And Michael meets him on the battlefield, which will be in the skies. The heavenly hosts can be quite troubling if you first see them in dreams or visions, or if God opens your eyes into the spirit world. And they might look like bullets or transformers, they might look like beasts, they might look like humans wearing dragon skin or something with multiple heads. They all look different, but they are heaven's army, and their job is to protect you. They were created before the earth was. Job 38, 4 to 7 tells us this. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you have understanding. Who fixed its measurements? Surely you know. He's being sarcastic. Or who stretched the measuring line across it? On what were its foundations set? Or who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together and all sons of God shouted for joy. There are two names given to the host of heaven. Other names that they have include the stars of the morning. So yeah, Job 38, 7, sons of God, Psalm 29, 1 to 2. The divine counsel, Psalm 82, 1. So that when the Lord has strategies in mind or wants ideas for strategies, he will ask the host of heaven to bring them forward to him. The great assembly, heaven's court, his own congregation. 1 Kings 22, 21 literally just called them spirits. The council of Yahweh, Jeremiah 23, 18. Hosts in 1 Samuel 1, 13. So they've got lots of different names. They do warfare against the forces of evil, and the Lord will often ask them for their opinion on what they think the best strategy is. So the hosts of heaven are led by the Archangel Michael. Now, he is not really much of a talker in the Bible. You'll notice that people write about him, but he doesn't really talk to people per se. And if he does communicate with them, it's from a distance. He doesn't really talk face to face. He's not much of a people person. You see, angels have personalities in the same way that people do. I see angels regularly, and you'll have some who are just so happy, so cheerful, so friendly, just like Christians. And you have other ones who they're not sinning. They're just very militant in their hatred of evil, very aggressive in their convictions to see righteousness on the earth. And it's not a bad thing, just looks different. And it's the very same with among angels in the heavenly host. I remember years ago, I was struggling with something that I should not have been struggling with. It was quite juvenile. And I had a dream that night. And in that dream, I was climbing a dark mountain. But the mountain kind of began actually shifting. It was very, very peculiar. And next thing I realized, the mountain was not made of rocks. I was actually climbing up easily a 100 meter, if not even, that's probably too small. Could have been 1,000 meters, actually. A 1,000 meter long snake with a massive head that was going to swallow me whole. And next thing, there was like an old dial up phone. on top of the snake, and it goes ring 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 ring. So I picked it up and I said hello, and a voice that at first I thought was pleasant said, "Hi there, is this Brendan?" And I said, "Yes, this is he." And next thing the voice said, "Hi Brendan, it's the Archangel Michael. Stop what you are doing." And then hung up the phone and I woke up. And it was very, very clear to me what the Lord is saying. Sin comes to steal, kill, and destroy, to devour us. We cannot play with it. We have nothing in common with it, or at least we shouldn't. We are children of light. We are not of the darkness anymore. We are supposed to love what is good and hate the darkness, and not be privy to its shenanigans, or its falsehoods, or its hollow promises, or vacuous desire fulfillments. And Michael basically called up and said, "Quit what you're doing. This thing wants to destroy you." Just like Jesus said to Cain when he put religion before relationship. He knew from his parents and his brother Abel, to get in God's good books, a lamb had to be sacrificed. What did he do? Well, not what he was told to do. He may didn't like blood. He may thought, yeah, that's an icky, yeah, gross. So instead, he got, lovely fruit, and it was all beautiful, and he had grown them, and they looked beautiful and wonderful, and very religious, and very pristine, very inoffensive. And Jesus said, "This is not what I've asked for." Hello? You know what I want. You were there when I told you. And I put other people in your world who informed you. You know you're sinning. You know you're missing the mark here. Sin is crouching like a tiger, and it means to devour you. So that was one of my two experiences with the Archangel Michael. Yeah. First one was a little similar, actually. I don't really think he likes people all that much. All right, so from Genesis 1 onward, the biblical authors present the sun, the moon, and the stars, and they also call them the host of heaven. You can see that in Genesis 1:16 and Genesis 2:1. And they present these as creatures with delegated authority, just like we do on the earth. It's like they do in the heavens to govern the seasons, the times, etc. Now, the physical realm is a picture of the spirit realm. Okay? God uses physical things to teach us about spiritual things. So, in the same way that the sun, the moon, the stars, etc., teach us about times, seasons, what we're entering into, what's ending, what's wrapping up. In the same way, in that sphere, that heavenly sphere, God has beings, the heavenly host, and their job is to be celestial bodies um, who delegate, who watch over, who oversee, who protect, who guard, safeguard. So these are the creatures that are referred to in 1 Kings 22:19, and again in Luke 2:13. Maybe you hadn't seen that before. The Christmas story, when the angel choirs sing in the sky, and people are like, "Oh, that's so beautiful, that's so pretty." They probably had white clothes or blue clothes, because heaven doesn't have any colors other than those, and blonde hair, because in heaven everyone's blonde. Nonsense. The Bible says the host of heaven came. There is a reason the shepherds were bricking it. Because they look absolutely terrifying. Some look like humans, some look like beasts. They carry weapons unlike you can even imagine. When they sing, they probably emit such frequencies and vibrations. The shepherds may very well have thought an earthquake was about to erupt. They were probably scared out of their minds. And they're also implied in the title for the Lord. Sometimes it's called the Lord Almighty, but that means the Lord of hosts, the Lord of all creatures, heavenly and earthly. These are names he's given so often in scripture, but a few instances are in 2 Samuel 6:2, Psalm 24:10, and Isaiah 6:5 as well. So these heavenly beings, they're angels, but they don't just have the same functions as angels. We looked at angels earlier to see all of their different attributes, their different tribes, their languages, their functions, their roles. They have so many functions in heaven, it's absolutely insane. But primarily, they're messengers. Whereas the host are warriors. They perform many roles, and they have done since before Earth was even created. Back then, it was celebrating the Lord's work. We only see them sing twice. One was when the Earth was created, and one was when Jesus was born. But they also dialogue about Jesus' policies. For example, Jesus summons them to the throne room in heaven in Job 1 and 2. And in 1 Kings 22:19-23, he invites them and says, listen, King Ahab is really, really wicked, really, really evil. We need to deal with him. Ideas, people. In Revelation 19:11, they fight his battles. When Jesus comes back, oh my goodness, I have heard people say, I'm going to be a commander in God's army, so I am. And when Jesus comes back to beat the Antichrist, I'm going to come back and I'm going to bow an arrow and a heart. Nonsense. No, you won't. That is not your portion. You are not part of the heavenly host. You can call yourself a soldier in God's army if you like. Maybe the earthly branch. But you're not actually involved in his angelic army. If prophetically he catches you up there and gets you involved, okay. Prayerfully, you can assist. But the heavenly host are angels, warrior angels, under the leadership of the Archangel Michael, who train in the furthest parts of heaven to war against the empire of darkness. So the name, the Lord of Hosts, or Lord Almighty, again as other translations say, occurs 261 times in the Old Testament. God is first called the Lord of Hosts in 1 Samuel 1:3. And the word Lord, when it's capitalized, refers to Yahweh, the self-existent, redemptive God, but also the God of the harvest, the God who is over sowing and reaping. And let me assure you, the wicked will reap what they have sown. They'll get their comeuppance. But so will we in a good way. So it's all good. And the word hosts is a translation of the Hebrew word Sabaoth, meaning armies. So again, he is the Lord of the angelic armies. I believe that's how the Message translates it, surprisingly accurately. The same translation that tells you that when the 12-year-old girl died, the neighbors all brought casseroles. Sometimes it's pretty out there, sometimes it's spot on. So maybe you hadn't known all that much about the heavenly host before. Hopefully now you've gleaned some information you hadn't already known. Okay, and in the next part of the series, we are going to look at the only two people in heaven so far who have never died, and they are the two witnesses. We're wrapping up our heaven section pretty niftily at this point. After that, we're going to be looking at transportation in heaven, things you can see in heaven when you die, some of which John already glimpsed at that time. Other parts were seen by his predecessors, saints who had lived before him. And then we're going to start looking at the horsemen of the apocalypse. So things are going to get very, very dramatic. So enjoy the good stuff while it's coming. And then, have the best day.